Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 76 and 77 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Kshetrasvarūpā kśhetreśī kśhetraGYna kśhayavṛddhi vinirmuktā kśhetrapāla samarchitā vijayā vimalā vandyā vandāru janavatsalā vāgvādinī vāmakeśī vahnimaṇḍala vāsinī. So from this shloka onwards, we are going to look at Devi as the Kshetra and kśhetraGYna. So I think it will be helpful for us to understand what is Kshetra and kśhetraGYna. So Kshetra means a region or a field. And as soon as we say Kshetra, one word that might pop up in many of our minds is Kurukshetra. So Kurukshetra is the place where the Mahabharata war happened. And Kurukshetra is called as Dharmakshetra, means it will always let the good win. So it is a field of righteousness. So in that particular field is where Krishna explained to Arjuna through Bhagavad Gita what is Kshetra and kśhetraGYna. So let's understand the meanings in more detail. So Kshetra in the microcosm is compared to the body plus mind. So that is the physical body plus our mind includes intellect, ego, our emotions, our sensations, our perceptions, thoughts, all of that. So Kshetra in the microcosm is the body plus mind. The kśhetraGYna is the one who is the knower of the field. So one who is the knower of the body and mind, which is nothing but the soul, the Atma. So that is the ever-present witness to everything that's happening. So Kshetra is body plus mind and kśhetraGYna is the soul. And as we all know, the Atma, which is the individual consciousness, is also connected to the Paramatma, which is the universal consciousness. So if you want to interpret Kshetra and kśhetraGYna in the macrocosm, then Kshetra is the field of creation, which is nothing but the entire universe, and kśhetraGYna is the knower of the field, which is both the field and the field of creation and the knower of field are both Devi, because she is that one ultimate reality that makes everything happen and is the one that is happening. So why is it important to know Kshetra and kśhetraGYna? What Krishna says is when we start to understand that Kshetra and kśhetraGYna are different and not one and the same, it leads towards liberation. So what that means is it allows us to identify ourselves with the right thing. So kśhetraGYna is the one who knows the field. So when we recognize that the body and mind is different from the soul, then we can identify ourselves with the soul. It brings clarity to the question, who am I? And as you all know, that is the question that allows us to go towards the path of liberation. It's supposed to ask the question, am I the body? Am I the mind? Am I the soul? And then ultimately arrive at the decision. And having that clarity allows us to identify with the right things, which leads towards eternal bliss. So let's understand this with a little bit of a colloquial example that might help us envision this better. So lots of sages and saints have done this, and we'll take an example from Ramana Maharishi. So think about a movie theater, right? So the movie theater has a movie playing, and where does the movie play? The movie plays in the screen. So the screen is always constant. That doesn't change. Whereas the movie keeps changing, right? There are different scenes that come up. And the screen is aware of the contents that are being played on it. But the contents that are being played are also essential part of the screen itself. So the screen is the kśhetraGYna, the knower of the field, the Atma, and the contents of the movie is the Kshetra, which is the body and mind. So that is the example how you can understand Kshetra and kśhetraGYna. So the body and mind, the content is inside the screen. So it's in a way part of that screen as well. So, but let's say there is a tsunami in the movie. The screen does not get wet. If there is a fire in the movie, the screen doesn't catch fire. The screen is untouched by whatever is playing inside the content, right? The content does not impact the screen. Similarly, the soul is untouched by whatever is happening in the body and mind. The only reason the soul experiences the emotions or the sensations is because the soul has possessed the body. That's why it's experiencing this. So the moment the soul leaves the body, then it doesn't experience this. So in the way to achieve that eternal bliss is to recognize and identify ourselves with that soul and not the body and mind, because the body and mind keeps changing, and that is not where the identity should rely. As long as we identify ourselves with our body, with our mind, with our thoughts, then anger, sadness, fear, jealousy, these are all things that will continue to go. So these are all the emotions that keeps us from that liberation. When we let go of all of this, then that happiness that's always present inside us will surface up. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Kshetra and kśhetraGYna must be differentiated, and when we let go of these base emotions, then we experience the knower of the field, right? So that is the difference. And another example that may help us understand a little bit better is all of us drive cars, right? When we are sitting in the car and driving, we are a driver, right? And if we go on a highway, we find nice scenery and we enjoy it. That's great. Or we are stuck in a traffic jam and it's frustrating and we feel anger. All this can happen as long as we are in the car, right? But if we come home, park the car and get out, we are no longer the driver. We continue as another person, but we are not the driver. So the emotions we experienced were when we were in the car. It was because we were inside the car, we were experiencing all of that. But the moment the car stops, then those emotions don't continue. So we are not the driver anymore. So like that, the soul, if you consider that as the driver is the soul and the vehicle is the body, as long as the soul is sitting inside the vehicle, it feels all this emotion. But when the soul is by itself, does not feel any of these emotions, you might go home and enjoy with your family. So that's not something that it feels. So the soul is experiencing all of these varied emotions only because it's possessing the body. And when we start to identify with the soul, then these emotions don't affect us, or these feelings or whatever it may be don't affect us, and therefore we can get towards eternal bliss. So that is the concept behind the Kshetra and kśhetraGYna. With that, let's look at the namas. Kśhetrasvarūpā. Kśhetrasvarūpā means one who is the form of the field. So it is the form of field of creation. So when we initially in the Lalita Sahasranama, remember the first few shlokas were describing her physical form. If you recall, we said her earrings are the sun and the moon, and everything about her form was being described with either flowers or with the water, or with sun, moon, the stars, also with all the gold or padmaragam, etc. Right? So that was signifying that Devi's entire physical form consists of plant life, animal life, everything that's found on the ground, in the earth, all of those, the sun, moon, and stars. So that was signifying that she is all-encompassing. That means her body is the field of creation. And Kshetrasvarūpā means the same. Kśhetreśī means mistress of the field. So the field of creation is hers, and she is the one who is capable of creating that, or who is responsible for creating that, and therefore she is the mistress of the field of creation. Kshetra pālinī. Kshetra is again field. kśhetraGYna is the knower of the field. Pālinī means protector. So she is the protector of the field, and she is the knower of the field. Kśhayavṛddhi vinirmuktā. Kshaya means decay, vriddhi means growth. Vriddha is old, vriddhi means to grow old or growth. Mukta means free. So kśhayavṛddhi vinirmuktā means she is free from growth or decay. So everything that is born goes through 4 stages, right? There is birth, and then there is growth, then there is decay, and there is death. But we know that in the Nirguna Brahman we also saw she is Nitya, she is eternal. So she does not undergo any change. She is Nirvikara, she doesn't undergo any change. And therefore she is exempt from birth, decay, growth, and death. So that's what this means. She is free from decay and growth. Kśhetrapāla samarchitā. Kśhetrapāla means one who takes care of the field. Samarchitā means worshipped by. So she is worshipped by one who takes care of the field. And kśhetrapāla here can be looked at in two ways. In one way, if we think of kshetra in the macrocosm and think of it as the universe, then the kśhetrapalas are the 5 elements, the air, water, ether, fire, etc. Right? So that is the kśhetrapāla. So one way you can look at it as the 5 elements and they worship Devi. The other way to look at it is kśhetrapāla is also Shiva. In this form, he is called as Bhairava. So she is someone who is worshipped by Shiva. That is also another meaning, and we all know Shiva is the greatest Sri Vidya Upasaka. Let's look at a small story related to Kśhetrapāla, how it is Shiva. So once upon a time, there was a demon called Dariki. Dariki married a woman called Mandodari. And Dariki's wife Mandodari had a special power. She had received a special mantra that can keep her as a Dirgha Sumangali. Means she will always be with her husband. Her husband will not die before her. So how does this mantra work? So as long as she's chanting the mantra, nobody can kill her husband. So that is the power that she got. So once Dariki married Mandodari, he became very happy. Now his wife has this power where if she's chanting, nobody can kill him. So every time he goes to a war or something, his wife will be chanting and therefore nobody can kill. And so he wins every single war. And we all know what happens when someone wins again and again. Now the power got to his head and now he is taking over the entire world and he is trying to take over the devas. He is torturing them. So now the devas, as usual, ran to Shiva for help and said, Shiva, please do something. Dariki has become really troublesome. So Shiva then starts to create a fire from his third eye, and out of that appears Bhadrakali. Bhadrakali is a very fearful form. And he says, Bhadrakali, you have to go kill Dariki. So then Bhadrakali comes and she starts to fight with Dariki, and she's in the battlefield fighting vigorously. But no matter what she does, she's not able to touch Dariki. And then she starts to wonder, how come I'm this Bhadrakali, I have all the powers and I came from Shiva's third eye. How is it that I'm not able to do anything to this Dariki? And at that time, she comes to realize that Dariki's wife has this great power. So now she realizes as long as she doesn't stop chanting, nothing can happen. So what Bhadrakali does is takes 2 forms. One form is still the Bhadrakali who's fighting in the battlefield, but the other form is that of a wife of a soldier. So she looks like a normal woman, and then she goes to Dariki's wife. And there she is pretending to be the wife of the soldier who's very concerned about her husband, who's worried that something will happen to her husband and that the battle is very serious and Bhadrakali seems fearful. So she starts to take that form and she goes to his wife, Dariki's wife, and is starting to share all her concerns, and she's crying. And remember, Dariki's wife is the leader, she is the king's wife, right? So she is supposed to take care of her subjects. So what happens is she stops chanting and then she's trying to console this lady. Immediately, the Bhadrakali on the field, that's the chance she was waiting for. So she's able to injure Dariki. And Dariki now is injured and is lying on the ground, and Bhadrakali is ready to go kill him. And now Dariki realizes that if nothing is done, she's going to kill. And so he tries to sing praises of her in a false way. And he's trying to appeal to her motherly nature, bring the motherly nature out so that she won't kill. So he's trying to say all nice things, and he's trying to act to her as if you're the mother, you're the mother of the universe. Please take pity on me, etc. And at that time, Bhadrakali is almost moved by what he's saying. At the right time, the devas come to the battlefield and they all start to talk to Bhadrakali about what all he did. And Bhadrakali immediately realizes that he was only trying to trick her and he was not sincere about appealing to her motherly nature. He was not calling her his mother in reality. So then she gets really mad and then she takes the sword, cuts off his head. And her anger is building and building, and it's not coming down because she was mad that he was trying to trick her. So she takes his head and she's dancing in the battlefield. She drank his blood and she's dancing. Now this is getting uncontrollable, and now the devas are beginning to get very worried that Bhadrakali's gotten out of control. So they again run to Shiva and say, please do something. Her anger, even after killing Dariki, has not subdued. Please do something. So then Shiva takes the form of a baby and starts to cry. He comes to the battlefield and he's crying. So there is a baby that's crying. Suddenly Bhadrakali hears that baby's crying sound, and her motherly nature comes up, and therefore she lifts the baby, holds the baby in her lap and feeds the baby. And as soon as she starts to feed the baby, Shiva also sucks out all the anger out of her. And then Bhadrakali has become peaceful and she quieted or calmed down. And that Shiva who Bhadrakali fed is called a kśhetrapāla. He is the Bhairava. And we all know Bhairava guards all the Shakti Pitas. So we all know that Bhairava is also the terrible form of Shiva that cut off Brahma's fifth head. But there is also another story around Bhairava being this Shiva who came as a baby to calm down Bhadrakali. It is said that the place all of this happened is in Kerala, and there is a Bhagavati temple in that place. So that's a little story about Kshetrapāla. And therefore, kśhetrapāla samarchitā is one who is worshipped by the five elements, or the one who is worshipped by Shiva as the Kshetrapāla. Vijayā means one who is always victorious. Vimalā means one who is free from all the impurities. So as human beings, everybody is subject to three impurities, ānavamala, mayyamala and karmamala. But Lalita, as the ultimate reality, is free from all of this. Even when we looked at her as a nirguna Brahman, we said she is nirmala. Vimalā and nirmala mean the same. Vandāru means one who is worthy of worship, or one who is adorable. So Lalita is adorable. Vandāru janavatsalā. Vandāru jana means those who adore her, those who admire her, or those who worship her. Vatsalyam means a feeling of motherliness, how a mother treats her child. So Vandāru janavatsalā means she treats her devotees like her own children. Vāgvādinī. Vāg means speech or expression. Vāgvādinī means one who gives the power of expression. So if you look at it, everything in the universe is a manifestation of that ultimate reality, but each thing in the universe expresses itself differently. So if you think about an insect, the insect moves in a certain way, it looks in a certain way, it expresses itself differently. It cannot speak, but it can sense and act, and there is things that you can see about it. So there is expression there, even if there are no words. Similarly, stars glitter, right? They express themselves differently, and each one of us expresses ourselves differently. And who enables that power? That is Lalita. Vāmakeśī. Vāma has many meanings. In this particular case, Vāma can be dark, and Keśī means hair. So that means one who has dark hair. In this context, what that means is, in the field, in the universe, there is creation, but there is also void. So the Vāmakeśī references the void. So she is the void. And when we looked at Lalita as the Nirguna Brahman, we also said she is Nīla Chikura. So same thing, in that the Nīla Chikura represents the nothingness or the void. So she is everything and she is nothing. Vahnimaṇḍala vāsinī. Vahni means fire, Mandala means disk, Vāsinī means resides in the fire disk. And that fire disk is nothing but the Mūladhara chakra. And as we all know, the Mūladhara chakra is in the bottom of the spine, and it has the Kundalini, which is like coiled like a serpent, and all that energy is sitting there, coiled, not spent, waiting to be tapped. And if you look at the fire fire actually is the essence of transformation. Whatever fire touches, that gets transformed. So when the ultimate reality decided to manifest, it looked around and it said, Bahusyam, let me be many. The first thing that came was fire. So fire is essential for creation. And fire is very important, right? The food that we eat becomes the body because of fire. The water becomes water vapor, and we get, and then back in the rain. This is also the reason for fire, right? So fire is transformation. So vahnimaṇḍala vāsinī, that Mūladhara chakra that is sitting there, when we continue to worship Devi and we are able to see that Kundalini raising, when the Kundalini raises all the way up to Sahasrara, what is the effect that is achieved? It transforms us. That transformation, the liberation, is nothing but breaking free from our desires, our wants, our egos, but most importantly, breaking free from our conditioned habits. We all have a way that we will behave implicitly, without thinking. Some people are afraid of dark. They are not thinking there. The lights go out, they're scared. So these are all conditioned behaviors which happen just like that, those reflexes. And with the Kundalini energy rising, it creates the ability for us to break out of these conditioned habits, which sometimes we ourselves are not aware of, and completely transform our life and become free. That's what is called liberation. So vahnimaṇḍala vāsinī is the one who resides in that fire disk and who is capable of creating that transformation like the fire that transforms everything. That's all for today. Thank you.